One.
We lit live. This is WBBC Chicago. Yeah. 77.3, your hottest digital station.
Now in digital HD sound.
What's going on, people out there in radio land? It's the one and only DJ Malone, man. Chicago 77.3, the best place to be at on any day, really. How you guys doing? I'm doing blessed and highly favored, and I hope you are too. Houston, you're doing really good, man. It's not too bad out here. It's like maybe 85. I'm cool with that. We can stay here, and I'll be good with that, man. With all that being said, man, I got somebody for you, and I really want you guys to really get in tune with him because his book. I'm like I told you guys before, I'm a sucker for fantasy, drama, and everything else like that, man. He has a book out right now called The Red Sun Rising, man. Alan, man, how you feeling?
Doing good. I appreciate you having me on the show. Excited to talk about the book and whatever else.
Man, I appreciate you being on here, man. So before we get into the book, who is Alan? How did this all become as an author?
Yeah, so I feel like I've always gravitated towards kind of more creative pursuits. I was in the music industry for a few years on the audio side of things in Atlanta, primarily Atlanta and Tennessee. Enjoyed my time there, but I didn't make any money doing it, so I had to kind of, look somewhere else. So I did a corporate job for about 8 or 9 years, working in the tech industry. It was all right. It was really volatile, but it was, somewhat enjoyable. But I got laid off a couple times, like in a row, when all the tech crunches were going on.
Wow.
And I'd always, kind of wanted to write a book, and suddenly I had a lot of time, and so that's kind of what I did. My wife supported me, still supports me. I'm not making a ton of money as an author, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how we got here. So I've always enjoyed doing more and more creative things, and I'm really lucky to have the opportunity to continue to do that.
That's real, man. Now, as a creator, and I don't think that love for music goes anywhere. I think it always remains inside of you. Have you ever realized like the parallels when making this book, even the parallels of like scores and everything, and how it kind of if with music you can kind of hit the heartbeats of the book and kind of know where this is at?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels between it. I was an audio engineer, so I was recording musicians, and they're certainly, kind of building up things piece by piece until you have, something that's greater than the sum of its parts. Was a big thing for me. Also, just the sparks of creativity you get, the inspiration, I think is really key. When I was making music, I would listen to music and be inspired by it and think I want to do something just like this. And I think, literature is certainly the same. And then another thing I really liked about music was there's a million different ways to solve a problem. Whenever, you have a problem in the recording, something's not sounding right, there's a million things you can do to fix it. And I think writing is very similar. If a character's not working out for you, there's a ton of things you can do to change things around. So, I think it gave me a problem-solving mindset, and I took that to the book, and it's served me pretty well.
I really like the book because I really think it can parallel, like, and this is going to be probably the word of the day, people, parallel, because I really like and understand when you look at something, and this is inspired by the Crusade games, correct?
Mm-hmm, correct.
So now I used to play Myth back in the day. Way back when PC was a thing. So I used to play Myth. So when I played Myth and Crusader games, it doesn't have the same tone, but it has the same premise, if that makes sense. So do you think that has expired, like medieval times has really kind of expired you in I guess creating the story and the brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So I played Myth too. I remember playing that on my dad's work laptop. I'm dating both of us. I might be dating you a little bit worse. Yeah. So I apologize for that. But yeah, I certainly think so. I think there's a lot to be said for, video games as a whole in terms of inspiring my love of, medieval times. I really got into history because of video games. I think that was the subject I always did pretty well on in school. It certainly wasn't math or gym class, but history, I was doing pretty good in history. So I think it sort of fostered that love for history. being into medieval specifically, I had some good teachers in high school that really made me excited about it. So it's something I've always really liked. It expands beyond video games. I have a ton. I read a lot of history books as well.
Right.
They can be pretty dry, but there's still a lot of really interesting stories in them, and there are lessons that are prevalent today for sure that happened 1,000 years ago. So I love that sort of era, but I also love science fiction and fantasy, and I really wanted to kind of combine those. And I think that was really the main idea behind what I wanted to do with this book.
That's what's up, man. So, and this is kind of this, this straightforward, just in case anybody who like is not into gaming and everything on the forefront. What can you tell fans about what the book is about if they're just coming brand new into this fantasy world?
Yeah, definitely. So the tagline that I've kind of been using, and it always feels kind of arrogant because I'm comparing myself to like some of the most beloved franchises of all time. So take it with a grain of salt. But I do think it has sort of the political power plays of Game of Thrones. I think it has the empire building of Dune, and I think it has like the technology of Mad Max. So it's kind of all of those things mixed up into one book. It follows the story of this one man sort of rise to power, and the whole book series will follow the family's rise to power. So I think it's an interesting story, and it certainly combines a lot of things that I like. So I'm hoping it combines a lot of things that other people like as well.
I respect that, man. I respect that, and I really like the fact that I think too. And if you take like a modern day, like how it like medieval times, and you put it into a modern day thing, I really think at the back end of it isn't that corporate America at its finest. If you really kind of really pull back a couple things, that's corporate America in my world.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been asked in other interviews, if Duquesne was the Duquesne's the main character of the book. He's on the surface, he's charming, he's easy to talk to, and I think there's reasons for doing the things that he does, but he is very, very ruthless. And so people say, hey, what would he be doing in our current society? And it's hard not to imagine him as a CEO with that sort of ruthlessness he has in terms of grabbing power. So, I think it's hard to write a book that doesn't reflect the times that you're in. Even if your book is, a crazy mix of all these different things, it's still intentionally or unintentionally in some cases, it's still a reflection on kind of what I think about our current society.
And I think so too. Is that I think there's always a hierarchy, no matter if it's small, big, whatever. I think even in TVs when you watch Survivor, there's a hierarchy. There's somebody that's always going to be stronger, or feels like that needs to be stronger, or I need to be the leader. I need to be this, and it's very ego driven. So it's like they feel like, oh well, I am this, and this is not, I wouldn't say Melissa, but this is my way of thinking, and I want you to go along with me. And I feel like that's kind of the premise of like how driven people can be.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you really do see it, whether it's this, in the book, obviously they're trying to, eventually build a kingdom or an empire or whatever it is. So it's like, continental consequences, but you'll see it everywhere you go. I definitely, especially in the corporate world, I saw it quite a lot when I was working in there. But yeah, anytime you get, three people together, I think, that kind of hierarchy is going to start coming out.
What's been one of the most challenging things about the book? And I know there's been a couple drafts, but what's been the most challenging thing for you about the book?
Yeah. So I mentioned, I got laid off, and that's when I was like, I'm going to write this book. And to me, it was like, I just wanted to see if I could write a book. I thought when it was done, my wife and my mom would read it, and that would be the entire audience. I certainly didn't think it was going to get published. So, I felt it was a struggle to get it done. It was hard to, I wrote 1,000 words a day, 5 days a week. That was my goal. That was my target. And it was definitely a battle of persistence, but it worked, and I finished the book, and I was proud that I had finished a book. But I wrote it 1,000 words a day. I didn't write it with storyboards. I didn't write it with organization. I didn't write it with character arcs in mind. I just wrote. So I think that was really the hardest part because I had the core of a book, but it needed so much work. And I got a lot of help from a lot of people to kind of develop it into what it became. But yeah, that was the hardest part. I guess it sounds dumb. The hardest part was learning how to write a book. Like, it was definitely difficult.
But I also commend you because this could be hard because I mean I get it, but it also you have to understand, but you also have to appease it to the everyday common person. So it's hard to balance that if you don't have a true interest in it, unless you do have a true interest, it's hard to balance and then find the right words or the literature to get people to wrap into to even listen to the book.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing that I was really inspired by various authors is I think a lot of people that I really admire write what they think is interesting, and they don't dilute it. They just say, "This is what I like, and I hope you like it too." And I think people can really sense the sort of sincerity behind those kind of books or movies or whatever it might be, or albums. People who are really doing what they want to do at the highest level they can do it at. I think there's a lot to be said for that. But it is. You're also thinking like, I need as many people as possible to read this book. So
Yeah.
it can definitely be like a balancing act.
Have you thought about doing well, I wouldn't say ebook, but a audiobook?
Yeah, I would love to. We do have we have the printout. We do have an ebook as well. It's available. We've talked about doing an audiobook. I've actually listened to a couple of different narrators, which is really exciting. So we're hoping we can get that out. No firm targets. It's just sort of a possibility. So as long as it continues to sell, maybe we can get that out.
I'm interested, man. I'm interested. So this is one of a series because I can only imagine that this is kind of where he starts it at, and then maybe at the end of the series, his empire has woken. So how are we looking on the series?
Yeah. So when I initially wrote it, I was thinking about it. I was like, I think this could be like a nice three book, like a trilogy, right?
Yeah.
And I sent it to the publisher, Moon Publishing. They're who published this book. They're great to work with, awesome people over there. But I sent it to them, and they were like, "We think this could be 6 books." And I was like, "Oh no!" Like, I didn't think it could be 6 books. So I did a lot of brainstorming, and I have ideas and outlines. But yeah, essentially we're going to follow the family. There's 2 timelines in the book. There's like the
Yeah.
past, the beginning, and then sort of the present day. And in the present day, they're already an empire, right? Like the family controls basically the entirety of like Europe and parts of North Africa, sort of like the old Roman Empire. It's
Yeah.
essentially the sort of territory that they have. So we are going to follow different members of the family with each book.
Okay.
In the past, to the most important people, the people who really built up this empire. So we have an idea of how that's going to happen. And I've told you I'm very inspired by history, and we're going to be wrapping a lot of that in. Books are going to draw from the Crusades. They're going to draw from like the Mongol invasion of Europe,
Okay.
religious schisms and wars. So we're just going to keep following. I think the journey will be exciting just because you'll basically be there step by step to see, how they went from one tiny little city to a massive empire.
That's real. I like this, man. Let me ask you this. Now, I'll do my research on you. You were raised Catholic or and still Catholic, or how did that evolution is right now?
Yeah, so my family's Southern Baptist. I'm personally not a very religious person. I'm very fascinated by religion. I love old churches, which probably is kind of what you were seeing. I
Yeah.
love to, and typically, if you're looking at old churches, they're usually Catholic. So that's probably where the overlap came. I think there's some of the most beautiful buildings that we have, and I'm definitely really inspired by them. And I think that shows in the book in terms of how I describe it, how the buildings look and all that. So I love old churches themselves, and I'm endlessly fascinated by sort of what religion, has done and been used for and utilized, and all the good it's done and all the evil it's done. It's just a fascinating subject to me. So I do really enjoy writing about it.
Yeah.
But I'm personally not a very religious person.
That's real though. That's real. And you know what? The best. I mean, the best top shows are from drama. And I tell people this a lot of times, it's not about necessarily the drama of it. Well, it is about the drama, but it's not about the actual battle. It's about the backstabbing, the politics behind it. And so I think when you read this, I think that when you look at it from that vein, that I think it's one of the top dramas in the world to me. If you really take a listen to it and really read it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think because I've been a reader like my whole life, and I've always loved fantasy and science fiction. And when you read it as a kid, there's so many sword fights or gun fights or whatever it is. I've read like thousands of battle scenes, and there's certainly battle scenes in my book. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy them, but at this point, I'm 35 years old. The books I'm really gravitating towards now are much more sort of the political plays, the behind the scenes kind of stuff, the planning. I just find that to be almost much more human than so it's something that everyone can sort of relate to. They've either done it or they've seen it done, as opposed to like a sword fight, which most people hopefully haven't done.
Yeah. Let me ask you this real quick, and I know we kind of went in on this, but with the AI stuff, now AI it's here, it's not going anywhere. Do you feel like that has not hindered you, but do you feel like, well, now I have to be competition with the AI, or do you feel like you could use that to your ability?
I think it's a complex question for science fiction authors, because so much of science fiction has AI within it. So it's something that you think about, and you sort of expect the future to kind of go along that ways. And I certainly think it's a very powerful tool, if in terms of what it does for us. My big problem with AI currently is, number one, the power that it takes. Very bad for the environment. But again, as a science fiction author, you go, okay, well then we need more power. How are we going to invoke more power? Like,
Yeah.
Every science fiction book you read, they have like, fission or nuclear power or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but right now I'm really concerned about the power. The other thing is, I think it puts more power into the hands of executives,
Exactly.
especially in creative industries. And I think creatives and executives have always butted heads, and they will always butt heads. I don't personally think they need more power than they have currently. But yeah, so those are my two big concerns with it. Not as much as like, I'm worried about competing with, AI books. I don't think AI is at a level where it can really go toe to toe with a human writer, in the future, maybe. But yeah, those are my two concerns with it. But I do also recognize the vast potential it could have. I just hope we get there in a way that doesn't melt all of our ice caps.
I think what's scary is, and for me, I think it's bad in the wrong person's hands. So when you have it, it could be a beautiful tool, but just like anything else, you have the pros and cons. So when you have somebody that can essentially, oh yeah, I have this power, or I have this tool that I could use, and you don't use it for the better good, if they would say, I think that's where the problem relays at.
Yeah, definitely. And to me, in sort of my ideal world, is like it's used to do things that humans don't want to do very complex and kind of frequently mind numbing tasks, as opposed to being used as an art replacement, a way to take away people who want to make a career in art. It's definitely, you see more and more companies are just throwing out these AI ads. So it's concerning from that side of things. But yeah, I mean, I would agree with what you said. There's potential there. It just needs to be used correctly.
That's real, man. I like this. This is real. I really like you. I mean, I really like talking to you, man. So, now the book, it's out on Amazon everywhere. Where can the people grab it at?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at my website, which is just allenlyleauthor.com. Those are, if you get it from my website, I get more money. So personally, I would like you to get it from there. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of anger at Amazon from authors, particularly because we all know bookstore owners, and Amazon has really done a number on the independent bookstore industry. But I really just want people to read. That's all I actually care about. So however you can get a book in your hand, do it. You don't necessarily, if you don't want to order it from my website and you want to order it from Amazon and you'll read it, do that.
That's real. I'm definitely gonna grab me a copy. I'm gonna go ahead and grab me a copy, man. And I'm gonna go to the website. You got hard copies as well?
We should. I know we did a limited print on hard copies. I don't know if we've sold them all. If they're available, it'll say on the website. If not, it'll
Okay.
be a paperback.
Are you doing any book signings? Anything? Any upcoming book signings?
Yeah, definitely. So we got a few things coming up here. We're going to be in Chicago at Barbara's Bookstore Saturday, October 25th. We're going to be at the Twig Bookshop in San Antonio, Texas, so not super close to Houston, but we
About
will.
2 hours away.
Yeah, we will be making a stop in Texas at the Twig Bookshop. Got a stop in Seattle at Ada's Technical Books and Coffee, and then these are all on my Instagram and my website. And then we got stops in St. Louis, New Orleans, Florida, and Reno. So yeah, we're doing our kind of longer leg now. We've been all over the Southeast, so we're starting our plane flights now.
Okay, I'm making your moves. I like that. That's what's up, man. As far as the actual, let me ask you this: if you were, we all as a business, you have a business statement. What would be your business statement for the book?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I've been asked that. I might have kind of already said it. I wrote a book that I wanted to read, and all I want with this book is for more people to read. I've got a lot of friends and family who aren't daily readers who, because I wrote this book, they read a book. I think reading is so important. I think it teaches you empathy. It teaches you unique ways to view the world. It allows you to communicate really well. So at the end of the day, my mission statement is like, read a book. That's all I really want. There's obviously hopes I have with the book. There's I want it to sell well. I want to get the series out. I think the dream of many authors is for a TV series or movie adaptation. That's all so far away from me. My only goal right now is just to get more people to read.
That's real. And at the premise of it, I like that. Just read a book.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple one.
I like that, man. Let me ask you this: as a author, and I know you got to, when you go to publishing, there's like the meeting of the minds, and well, I like this or I don't like this. How do you deal with that?
Man, my publisher they're a dream to work with. Moon Publishing, as I mentioned, Chris Lambert is the guy that I work with the most. Every idea that he had, I was like, well, that's a good idea. I pushed the pushbacks that I had were really, really minor things. There was nothing that we really butted heads over. So it's an easy relationship. I love working with them. But I think maybe to kind of get at more at the point of your question, I've had some, bad reviews, right? Those, I was wondering how I was going to take those. It's not like it's not easy when you work on something for hundreds of hours and somebody's like, I didn't like it, so I do think that was somewhat challenging to deal with. But when you look at any art, it's so subjective. You can look at any book or any album or any movie that's your personal favorite, whatever it is. And if you sort by reviews, you will see a ton of people who said it sucked. So I think you really have to be able to keep a perspective and not take it personally, and understand that every piece of art means something different to everyone.
And it's all about, and like you said, perspectives and different frequencies of perspectives. Me and you could watch the same thing at the same time in the same place, but we can view it and internalize it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you always have to keep that in mind. But yeah, as a whole, the response has been great. I've gotten a couple bad reviews, mostly good reviews, which always make me happy to read. So hopefully we'll get some more of those rolling in.
Hey man, and it takes you away from reality, even though it kind of it immerses itself within that as you listen to the parallel. But I also think people just love like reality or reality based type of feel. Because if you was to take this, and this was going to be my other question, your main character, I forget, I pronounced his name. Okay, how do you think he would fare in 2025 as a person?
Yeah, I think unfortunately he would fare very well. He's an authoritarian ruler. A lot of that is a reflection of the society that he's in, because I did want to write about medieval society. But he is an authoritarian ruler. And unfortunately, it seems like, right now what's going on is authoritarianism is doing very well in this country. So I think he'd be fine. He'd be running a Fortune 500 company, or he would be in politics, and his ruthlessness would serve him well.
Hey, man, that's what it is right there, man. Alan, where can the people find you at? Everywhere? Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is just Alan Lyle Writes. That's what I'm most active on. My tour dates are on there. We some pictures of the prints. I have prints for sale. Some pictures of the prints are on there. My website is allenlyleauthor.com. So those are the two main places. That's where I'm most active, and you can find me there.
All right, man. Make sure you go grab the book, man. I would tell you to go to Amazon, but I want you to go to his website, man. Go to his website. Give him a couple dollars, man. That's really what it is, man. Please run the analytics, please and thank you, and everything else like that. And make sure you guys go check him out. Now, before you go, Alan, I always ask people, they can do a shout out for me. You're going to say your name, and I'm rocking with DJ Malone.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Alan Lyle, and I'm rocking with DJ Malone.
Make sure you guys lock that in, man. And give it the website one more time.
Yeah, it's allenlyleauthor.com, ALLENLYLE author.com.
Definitely, man. The Red Sun Risings. Make sure you guys lock that in. Just go ahead and type it on Google, man. Just go ahead and type it on Google while you're on your phone, because I know you're on your phone. Don't lie to me. It's the one and only DJ Malone, Chicago 77.3. We out. One.
We lit live. This is WBBC Chicago. 77.3. Your hottest digital station.
Now in digital HD sound.